Can you talk about the emotional operating system a little bit and the impacts that trauma has on it?
Yeah. The EOS, as we call it, the emotional operating system, is the body's capacity for processing emotions. So now there's a lot of talk about the polyvagal theory and the vagus nerve. This is the interoceptive work of the body. The emotions occur in the body and they flow. We say that emotions flow through the body like water through a river. And our natural resistance to what feels negative or scary or dangerous or painful is we naturally resist it, and that's like building a dam in the river. So it doesn't help us to try and send the water back upstream. The emotions don't flow that way. So the river wants to flow. And those emotions will naturally flow downstream and dissipate in our body if we allow them. And when it's too scary or painful to allow them, we build a dam. And now when you build a dam, of course, the river turns into a lake and we're flooded with the very emotions we were trying to avoid. So now how do we find the boulders or that we threw into the river, the resistance, to move into that boulder and allow it to dissolve and flow downstream, as it would have originally had we had the capacity to allow it to, right? And then that builds our capacity today. We can build our capacity to allow the scary or painful experiences to be with it and allow it to flow so that we can stop building fresh new dams. That we're not throwing a boulder of resistance in. This is sad. I don't have the capacity to be sad. I can't handle sad. If I get sad now, I'm afraid I'll get too sad forever. I'll be stuck in it forever. Or I don't want to get angry is a big one. I'm too afraid of rage. I have too much ready to bubble up and that I'm going to hurt someone or I'm going to damage relationships with that. So we're so afraid of anger in our culture. And there are cultures where anger is quickly and easily just expressed. Boom, and you're done. And then if we're not used to that, we feel like this person must hate me or there's something wrong here. And it was just their way of expressing it actually in a very healthy, easy way. And so what's the balance? How does that work? And if it's been bubbling for decades, then we want to go back and dissolve those old boulders of resistance at the root. And so it all flows again. So this is why you can safely drive down the highway without getting angry in traffic. And that all of that old anger that was nothing to do with traffic, that's just beneath the surface, is now faded, it's dissipated and dissolved, right? Under that anger is usually there's some unexpressed pain or hurt that when we solve that hurt and pain, the anger often is gone, as if by magic. And then when we were 4 or 5 years old, when we were told that not to cry, not to be emotional, sign of weakness, all of that, boys are allowed to get angry. They're just not allowed to have other emotions. Even forget that anger is an emotion. It is a feeling too. It's just the only one that's safe to express. I see a lot of men in business environment that you can't be emotional in business, and yet they get angry all day long. It's like it's the only one they get away with, which is they wouldn't get away with it in my business. Not that I don't get angry. We do, of course, but it's like we're getting angry all the time and not dealing with it, pretending you don't have emotions, and emotions are driving the anger. Yeah.
So, while we're on the emotional operating system, when you were talking about rage, there was a point in my life where I was afraid of my own rage. And talk a little bit about the emotional operating system's capacity for healing. Like if somebody's really afraid and they're like, oh, it's just going to be too much.
Yeah.
Like I can't handle it.
Well, I'm so glad you asked that. That's an important piece of creating the safety that allows a client to do bigger work, allows you to go to do deeper stuff, is that you're always in charge. And we know that, and you're always creating the content. There's no expert therapist who knows what you need. What shows up, and your own emotional operating system doesn't take you where you can't handle it, right? You do what you do, and you get to direct that. So it's shocking and surprising how easy it is for people to do big work they thought they could never do. And so on this side of it, it sounds incredibly scary and painful, and I can't possibly do it. On the far side of it, you look back and you don't even remember ever being afraid of it. It's so easy, and it's like if you've done other events in your life, if you've ever done bungee jumping or jumping out of an airplane or the zip lines and all these things that we do, walking across fire, doing the fire walks, those types of things, we think we can't do it until we do. You look back and say, oh, that was a breeze. So we look at the big fear comes up or the big trauma scene comes up. Sometimes you're surprised to find out that now you're in the memory of a playground scene, and you thought it was the story you've been telling about your big trauma event. And so sometimes we don't even know. So we're so afraid of this, and then you find out that that wasn't what was coming up. Or we're so afraid of just this, of the thoughts get us afraid, and through body sensing, image shows up. Spontaneous imagination brings up an image. So, well, it's just a black hole. It's quicksand. It's a tar pit. It's whatever metaphoric journey it is, edge of the abyss, it's a swimming pool, it's a stream, it's a mountain, whatever that is. And you can move into that metaphoric tornado or fire or go and talk to that mountain or deal with it, whatever's there that's safe to talk to. You might not be ready to talk to an abusive parent. And you might not even know that what your body brought up as a metaphoric image is the representative of that experience or of even that parent. And so it's safe to dialogue with whatever that image is, right? You can talk to the cartoon monster and not even realize until after your session that that was the piece that you were so afraid of doing, and you just did it, right? So the psyche will make it safe. We trust the EOS. We totally trust the client and their internal emotional operating system to keep them safe, to keep us safe, and to know what it's doing. So I'm not the expert on you. Your logical mind, you're not even the expert on you. It doesn't. We don't have access. The body knows though. So, but we trust your psyche to keep you safe, and it will, and it knows what to bring up. And if it needs a metaphor, it'll bring one up.
So speak a little bit about the EOS, the emotional operating system's desire to heal. So if, for example, I'm going to therapy for years and I'm telling that story, I still have a desire to fix that. Can you talk a little bit about that and how, its desire to fix, to be fixed, to be healthy?
Yeah, I mean, it's our natural state, isn't it? That's our natural state. We want to go back to that. We want to remember that. We want to be healthy, and the logical mind wants so hard to help us do that. And like we've talked about, it just doesn't have the capacity for that. The logical mind doesn't have access to the data. The body does. So let's bring the logical mind in partnership with the body to get to the root cause. The body knows how to heal. The mind wants to heal, but it's too afraid. It thinks it's impossible because in order to do that, I would have to go through all this painful stuff, and that's not safe. So therefore, it's impossible. And the body just would naturally allow those negative emotions will dissipate on their own if we would allow them. So this is an opportunity to do both, that where we can bring together in partnership. If you can bring them together in partnership, the logical mind and the body, then the body can create enough safety. Let me put it this way. The fear is actually imagined, right? The fear is no longer real here. I mean, the fear is real, but the setting that creates the fear, that the fear is based around, is not here anymore. It hasn't been here for decades, or for weeks or years, whatever it is. The fear, the event is not current, so you could say that the fear is quite unrealistic. Of course, it's to be expected, so it's very realistic. But you know what I'm saying? The fear is an imagined event. It's, right. As people say, it's false evidence appearing real. So it's false evidence creates the fear. Then imagination can also create the safety so that you can dip into the big work. Because the nervous system doesn't know if it's false evidence creating fear or if it's imagined safety that creates the ability to just go do the work. If that's because it shows up as a metaphor, or if it's because you have resources with you, you have your adult self with you, you're not alone as a kid, you've got all sorts of resources that come in and help you, then you can do the experience in an imagined way, and the nervous system will treat that like a real experience. And so now we have that sense of safety. So the healing itself is actually quite easy. The body knows how to heal.